Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
Forget the cat, you hemorrhoid. Get the gun.
Yeah.
Now, Bill, it's weird that you said that while you were holding a cat.
I think he did that on purpose.
Anyway,
Think that happened on purpose.
This is episode 218, recorded October 19th, 2022.
Gruesome Magazine.
My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-hosts Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, Chad Hunt, and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Unfortunately, Chad Hunt is not with us tonight. He's having computer gremlins.
Technical
I don't know.
difficulties.
I'm starting to feel a little,
Computer trolls, maybe.
Yeah, I hate when that happens. That's frustrating. But with us, joining me is Crystal Cleveland.
Oh, boy. What's up? Hi.
The living
Hi.
dead girl.
I'm
Looking
co-host of
especially
Gruesome
fetching
Magazine, so
today
yeah.
with her crazy lipstick.
Yeah. I was feeling a little blue, so I was like, I like the blue. It's
You look
kind
like
of
a
cool.
supervillain.
Actually. So it could
Are
be
you-
Poison Ivy. It could be Electra, maybe. I don't know. All right. Enough of that. Also with us is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, and special effects guru, and co-host of Decades for the 1970s, and all around nice guy.
Totally.
But not nearly as fetching, so.
Oh,
Well-
I don't know. That new dude looks pretty fetching.
Oh,
Yeah,
it shows a lot of
yeah.
forehead is what it does. Oh, well.
Well, hey, I'm not saying anything. I noticed you know at one point you got one of those hangings with horror posters on it. Now we got
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
I
All
need
your
to bring
cats?
that back. It's just that I have it packed away in a room that's really cold right now, and I need to move it upstairs. And this is the one my wife.
So you
works in
do
front of.
you have you don't have like a space set up just for your podcasting then?
Oh no,
that you don't
no,
have
I'm
that.
A gypsy. Right now, I'm
Okay.
downstairs in my.
See, that would
wife's,
be so
home
hard.
office.
That's cool.
Yeah, it would-
but that would be hard. I would lose my mind. I have to have it set up so that I know at least something's done. So I don't have to come down here and be like, ah, because I would
That's
do
exactly the sound I make when it's time for me to do something.
that. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, well, so for witty chatter like that, be sure to subscribe and get automatic alerts on our channel and make comments. We love comments. We'll read some at the end of the show. And
Make
also,
your own witty chatter.
Yeah.
we also have a Patreon membership. And for a very small monthly fee, you can get like all the decades of horror, including the 70s and the classic era, like 10 to 12 days ahead of time. So
Yay.
that's one of the perks. I think you also can join in with Horror News Radio live when they
Ooh.
record on Monday nights.
Yeah,
You get the news
you can.
when it's hot.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So on this podcast, we start out by giving some basic details of the film, do some taglines, first impressions, and then, we take off down the road until we come to a fork, and then we take it. So,
Yeah, that's what's
all
happening.
right. So tonight's subject is Stephen King's Cat's Eye. I'm not sure. Have we done a Stephen King movie on this?
I don't think so.
I mean, they have.
Yeah,
Creep
I
Show.
mean, we did.
Creep Show.
Yeah, we did
Oh,
Dead
yeah.
Zone a long time ago.
So anyway, Cat's Eye, the anthology film that came out in 1985, directed by Louis Teague, written by Stephen King, based on two of his stories and then one brand new material. The cast includes Drew Barrymore, James Woods, Alan King, Robert Hayes, Kenneth McMillan, Candy Clark, and James Naughton. It was filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina, which which I
Ooh,
think
cool.
is the General.
Yeah.
Atlantic City, which would have been the Ledge, and New York, which was Quitters Inc. Filmed June 4th to August 6th, 1984. Released April 12th, 1985. The budget is an estimated $12 million. Domestic box office, $13 million, $13.1 million. Also known as not just Cat's Eye, but Stephen King's Cat's Eye. And the synopsis, I'll give a little synopsis of each section as we go through this. But basically, a stray cat is the linking element of three tales of suspense and horror. Now, doesn't really tell you much, but
No.
we'll give you more as we go. All right. Well, so again, I'm going to have to make up some alternate logos here, but
Chad. Oh, we didn't talk about taglines.
Yeah,
We
so
didn't
now
discuss
Are there
taglines.
any?
it's ready for Taglines with Chad.
Taglines with Chad. Okay. That's insane. That's insane. I don't know how I feel about
That
that.
was wet.
It was. Man
right, here
hits
it comes
train.
again.
Train
Didn't
hits
get him the
man.
first
All
time.
right.
Oh, train. Oh, well,
Train hits guy. Man screams.
not for long.
Anyway, but Chad's not here, so Bill is going to do the
Okay.
taglines today.
Nom, nom, nom. Through the eye of the cat, a twisted tale. Ha! I see what he did there. Of macabre suspense from the author of Carrie, The Shining, and The Dead Zone.
Oh, yeah. Very
Okay?
appropriate.
Look, go with your strength. It's a Stephen King movie. Come on. Or this next one, follow the newest cat and creature game as it's played through. I don't like
No, it's so bad. That's cringy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go with the first one.
The other, I mean, it is what it is.
Alrighty.
They're boring.
All
Boring,
righty.
but
I got
Very often. They're either boring or they flat out lie.
Yeah.
One of the two. These
Oh,
at least,
yeah.
I don't know if they really lie. But anyway. Well, first thing we do is first impressions. And I should give a warning once again. This movie is from 1985, which is
gonna spoil the crap
37
out of it.
years ago. Yeah, so we're
totally.
gonna talk about everything. If you haven't seen this, you should go check
Go
it
see
out.
it.
Currently on what? This is on HBO Max, I think. Or
And then come back
What
here
was-
and listen to us, and we'll tell you whether you should have liked it or not.
why have I forgotten where it's streaming? Oh well. I'll come up with it in a minute. So
I feel
Bill,
like it
this was your
shut
pick.
up. Oh, yes, it is.
What are your
I don't know why I
first
picked it.
impressions?
What is it about cats that makes me want to pick a film? I mean, I've got
Yeah.
7 cats, and I've had, in the course of my marriage to Shauna, I think around 14 cats total over 25, 26 years. So, we are cat people. We are big, serious,
Ooh.
stupid cat people. We've got weird cats, hairless cats, cats with one eye, just broken cats. And so, I've always I like watching movies about cats. They're so adorable. They're so evil. They're
Yeah.
such little goblins and endlessly entertaining. They pretty much invented the internet. So when did I first see this? I think I probably saw this on HBO. I'm pretty sure I did not see it in the theater, but I feel like this is something I would have watched back home on HBO, maybe coming back home from college, watching it there. And I thought then as now, and I was a huge Stephen King fan at the time. I'd read the 2 short stories that they used for 2 of the stories here, and like them both. They're not exactly horror, and that's a little bit odd for this movie in that it's marketed as a horror movie, but it's really a suspense movie with one story that has a bit of supernatural thrown in there. I would have picked some other stories, but they're good. They were good stories, and I think at least one of them is pretty well realized. I like Quitters Incorporated. It's a great
Yeah.
idea, and it's
See,
well
that's
cast.
horror for sure. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
it
That's not
is.
so
It
bad.
is. It's suspense. Yeah, there's some horror elements. The Ledge is a good short story, but I think it works better as a short story than as a film. With the prose with King's excellent writing, you really get the suspense and everything of whether he's going to fall or not, and this stupid pigeon pecking at his leg and all. But when you see when you watch it, I mean, we know he's not going to fall. It didn't quite.
We're
work
pretty sure.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pigeon pecking him, which was so well done in the story, comes across as silly. It wouldn't be silly if you were there. I'm a little bit. I don't have a fear of heights, but I do have a fear of standing on a ledge while a pigeon is picking at my ankle. I mean, I think that's legit. I wouldn't call it a phobia. I consider that a rational fear. So, there were a couple of nerve-wracking things watching that. And then the last story I really like quite a bit because it's got the troll. They do some excellent practical effects, and the cat gets to be a hero. Drew Barrymore is cute as a button. I've always liked Candy Clark. So that one, this is not a scary movie. There's not a scare in it except a couple of little startling things when the guy's about to fall off the ledge. Although it's my least favorite of the three, I think it's the one that actually has the best scares in it for me anyway, watching it. So this is a minor Stephen King thing, but I think it's mid-level Stephen King. It's not bad. It's entertaining. It's great for a Dino De Laurentiis production. And it actually made money, which almost none of the other ones he was involved with did. So I enjoyed it. It's been a while since I've seen it, and it pretty much held up, I thought.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Crystal, how about you? When did you first see this?
I saw this as a kid, and I remember loving this movie. I remember looking up to Drew Barrymore when I was a kid and being like, she's so cool. I want to be just like her. I really seem to remember this as being scarier than it is or was. Maybe it's because I was so young and I thought, is there going to be something that's going to come into my room and try to eat me or take my breath or whatever? I don't know. It's such a creepy story, but I love all these stories. The Quitter story is by far my favorite, though, because it's so crazy and weird, and I think it was fabulous. I think it's one of those things. Well, if you're gonna quit, I think everyone would quit if this is the way that they were running their program.
End up like this.
Yeah, no joke. But it is kind of a feel-good movie in a way. I mean, everything ends relatively happy, kind of. I mean, he did quit smoking. The bad guy gets it in the end of even though the wife,
Not so great.
the perils of affairs, I guess. And then, obviously General gets his forever home. So, that's a good thing. I think everything was great in this.
Cat. Yeah.
General is the cat, yeah. I think the effects were really good. The little goblin thing or whatever is really scary. I think it was done very effectively. Obviously, the cats that they used in this were fantastic actors. Like I'm like very impressed. I don't know how they trained the cats so well, but I love this movie. I've always loved this movie. And I feel like this one held up really well. There wasn't anything I saw where I was like, oh, that looks bad. So it's pretty much how I remember, except not scary. It was scarier when I was a kid. Yeah. I remember it being a little scary, at least. And watching it, I was like, oh, that's cute. Little Crystal. Scared of this. That's funny. Yep.
you raise a good point. This movie is old, and yet it hasn't aged as much as a lot of movies from the 80s have. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Vegas stuff looks the same because Vegas never changes. So the guy on the ledges look pretty much the same. Yeah. And then the little home family thing, that could have been happening today. So
and no one's even dressed like that crazy. They're not dressed that 80s. I didn't even look and think there was a crazy 80s hair. It's pretty much a classic. They've done a good job. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, I saw this at the theater.
That's
I didn't
awesome.
didn't go to a lot of the slasher movies and stuff in the '80s. I went to some, but I generally tried to pick up the Stephen King ones. Yeah, and I enjoyed this, and I remember, my now it seems milder than it did then. Maybe
See,
because like
okay, it's not just
2 weeks
me.
2 weeks ago I saw Terrifier 2, so maybe that's a
Oh
lot
Yeah.
well,
of comparison.
Me too.
So
yin and yang.
anyway, but it's still good. It's good storytelling. They set up the stories. There's shot well. You still get the suspense. There's that a feeling of paranoia, and they're great cast too. I mean, really interesting cast. So just to hit this right away before we get into them, the two stories, Quitters Inc. was first printed in Night Shift, his collection, which was published in
Yeah.
'78. The Ledge was first published in Penthouse in July 1970,
That makes sense, actually.
July 1976, and then in Night Shift, it was also in Night Shift 2 years later. And then the last one, The General, was new material. All right, well, let's take a look at a couple of things here. Let me see here. Put myself in the middle so I'm blocked.
Aw,
So Stephen
take
King,
one for the team.
Stephen King. This is nice. I'm glad you did this, Bill, because I didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
it was this much. Stephen King. This is King
This
in
is
the
the
'80s, right?
1980s of Stephen
Yeah.
King. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff right there.
I think everyone's seen
amazing.
these movies too, right? Like, I had the only actually there is one I haven't seen. I haven't seen Running Man.
Oh, okay. It's fun. It's
Oh,
fun.
yeah.
We might do that sometime.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
one of the Bachman books, right?
Yeah, Stephen King could have had his own shelf
God,
at
Silver
Blockbuster.
Bullet. That's a great movie.
And this is just the '80s stuff. They keep on making them now. It is amazing how many of his things have been adapted, and I chalk that up to he grew up watching a lot of horror movies like we did, and that's the kind of stories that he tells. When you're reading a Stephen King book, you're often thinking this would be a great movie, and I think when he was writing them,
Yeah.
he might have been thinking this will make a great movie. There's that kind
Yeah.
of storytelling.
The thing they have a hard time with, I think, is the detail he puts into the character development. He's
Right.
inside the
The
character.
stories are
cabs
often
he's
pretty
given.
simple.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they didn't try to expand. I mean, Quitters Incorporated, that could actually be made into a feature length movie, but the story that is told here is good, efficient. It doesn't wear out its welcome, and it gets it across. It's a cool idea, and here's a story. That's the thing. People always, I got a great story, and they tell you a cool idea, and you're like, that's great. What's the story? And that's where Stephen King excels. He takes this cool idea and he fashions a story around it, an actual 3-act structure story. And it takes as long as it takes. If it's a book, he writes a book, and if it's a short story, it gets published in Penthouse. So these were right. All three of these stories, I think, are just about as long as they need to be. So this is the ideal venue for something like that, the portmanteau.
So you guys know, you saw the I don't know, what do you want to call them, Easter eggs or callbacks to the Stephen King movies. Cujo running down the street chasing the cat. Big bloody dog. I mean, and then Christine drives up the street, the car, in that same
That's
scene, right? And I don't know what other ones there were. Those are the obvious ones. I'm not
They're
sure.
watching the Dead Zone at some point.
Oh, that's right. That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Christopher
That's the other
Walken's on
thing. Look at
TV.
these movies. I'd say, by my counting, there's like 7 really, really good movies here. A couple of them which are classics. That's a
Well-
pretty good percentage rate. And except for Maximum Overdrive, and I'm not too fond of Firestarter, truth.
Oh my God, I'd say there are 11 great movies here. 11 stellar movies here. I love Firestarter. I can't tell you how many times I watched that as a kid, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. I'm gonna set you on fire. Like, I loved Firestarter. I think the movie was freaking amazing. There's a reason
Yeah.
why they remade it, because people love
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
I love the book, and I guess I had really high hopes for the movie,
Yes,
and
me
it just
too.
didn't live up to those hopes.
I loved.
that makes me
The first
sad.
Stephen King book I read was The Shining, and
Oh,
then I
yeah.
immediately went back and read Carrie and Salem's Lot were before Shining, and then after that I was reading them as they came out, and they were. I loved Dead Zone and Firestarter. Absolutely loved them. Pet Cemetery was the one that was billed as it was too gruesome to be published originally.
Yeah. That's a disturbing
Anyway.
little number. Just some great
Um,
stuff, you know. Thank you, Stephen
It
King.
is.
And there he is at the top, surrounded by cats.
Yes.
And boy, does Stephen King look like a serial killer or what? My wife is really addicted to these true crime shows, and every time they put up
Oh yeah, yeah.
a mug shot, none of them are as scary as Stephen King, just looking, like Stephen King.
He's so funny.
He is a funny
He's
guy. And
he's like
he's a good writer.
we about to say
Then
something.
there's
Okay.
the poster, and there's tons of posters of this, but this is
Really?
the one.
I had a
everybody
hard
sees
time
the most.
finding, and I thought this was a terrible poster too.
Um,
I completely do not like this poster.
I think most of the other ones are like variations on DVD covers. Although
Oh,
I was looking for this, and I don't think it's available on Blu-ray right now.
So I have to say something though. Now seeing the tagline, it makes more sense. Follow the newest cat and creature game as played through Cat's Eye. Like it's
yeah.
not as bad. Yeah,
It's not
like
as
it.
bad on the poster because here we see the cat and the creature, and
Right.
and they
Right.
okay.
But out of context, that is the most hideous, horrible
Terrible.
piece of
But you're
poop
right, Crystal.
ever.
You're absolutely right. Yeah,
It's not. It's still not great, but it's
No.
better. But what are they doing with the? Oh my god! When I
This
see
looks
font
like
like
a Tom
that,
and
it
Jerry
drives me.
movie or something.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
font.
Jerry were evil.
Why is the font not centered, or all left aligned, or right aligned, or why is it? Oh my god!
It just looks like
This
something
is
I whip out
Yeah, they're
an
definitely-
hour with Photoshop. But,
Yeah, I'm with Bill on that. That when it became easy to do funky things with the font, people went crazy, and then realized it wasn't much value add to some of that stuff. So we have Louis Teague is the director who has done some things. Also
he's
did
done. He's not a
Cujo.
director I think about that much, but Alligators are a really fun movie that we're gonna have to do sometime. And
obviously Cujo is
Cujo's a
amazing.
great.
Did that just
Alligators, the
come
one
out
that was
on,
written
like,
by
4K
John
or
Sayles.
something?
Yeah, it's sort of gotten a reevaluate. It's one of the best alligator in the sewer movies ever made, and it's
For
got a hell
sure.
of a pedigree. John Sayles is a legit, mainstream filmmaker, and he wrote.
Well, Jewel of the
Alligators.
Nile, classic. Hello.
Well, and those are the ones he made right in a row. He made Cujo, Cat's Eye, and The Jewel of the Nile.
Right, and all three of them made money, but he kind of is one of those directors who I think he gets called in to do things. I think maybe Cujo might have been one of those ones that someone else was going to do it, and then the last minute they had to bring him in. He does the job. He's efficient. He doesn't have necessarily an identifiable style. We've talked about this
Right.
before. Some directors, like Dario Argento makes a movie, it's one of his movies, good or bad. It's pretty obvious who's behind it. And then others are more like Ron Howard. I can't tell you a Ron Howard movie unless I see his name in the titles. They don't get the same level of respect. They're not winning awards or anything, but Hollywood kind of needs people like that to be able to do things.
Well, he
So,
makes
Because
he
they're-
makes good
I like
movies,
both
but
of
there's not a
Yeah.
visible, recognizable style. Is
Yeah.
what so it's kind of interesting. So it says he apprenticed under Sidney Pollack, worked as a production manager on the Woodstock documentary.
Okay.
also worked for, among legions of others, Roger Corman, second unit director chores on Death Race 2000, which we're going to have to do on 70s. I'm telling
absolutely.
you.
That's a great one.
Anyway. So yeah, he had some background. Let's see, what else did he do? Second unit director on the Big Red One.
So he would have worked.
Is that like the best photo there was of him? Like what?
Oh.
What is this photo? Like some chick like having her arm around him eating.
Oh yeah, I just
cereal?
realized that can't possibly be his hand. Yeah, and there's
It's just weird. It's funny.
He's
it's just
smiling.
funny.
He's
That's
having a
all.
good time.
Yeah. He seems happy. Yes, he seems happy. It's just funny. It's a funny photo, I think.
Well, I'm going to pop up these other ones as we kind of go through them, I think.
Okay.
And let's talk about these in sequence, if possible. So the setup is we see the cat. It's right off the bat. Does the cat have a vision of Drew Barrymore saying, "I need your help"? And the cat takes off running, apparently looking for Drew Barrymore. And in the first story, the Quitters Inc., the cat is picked up by a shady New York City doctor who uses experimental techniques to get people to quit smoking. This doctor is much more like a mob boss than he is a doctor. And this stars
God, he's so good.
James Woods, Alan King.
I love Alan King. And he's a funny guy. Alan King was a comedian. He was a funny comedian. I really enjoyed him.
Oh, well, when he's singing the "I'll be watching you," like I felt like he overdid it, and then I was like, well, I guess he was supposed to overdo it. I liked it. You know,
this is a great thing because the comedians. There's a lot of comedians that are good actors that seem to be able to do well.
And there's a lot of these stand-up comedians, these old school stand-up comedians, they can also play really good mob guys. You know, Don Rickles and stuff. And you get the feeling they played in bars. They played on Vegas. They hung out with mob guys. They knew how these folks were. This larger than life mafia guys.
What did they call the Appalachians? There was a resort places in the Appalachians that they used to go play all the time. Gosh darn.
Yes.
It'll pop in my head later. About. There's somebody listening going, "You moron, it's
come on.
The Catskills." They'd play the Catskills.
Well, I see. I knew that. I grew up in the Catskills. That's where my hometown is, actually.
Oh, cool.
That's part of the Appalachians.
Yeah, it used to be. It used to be a very popular. I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think the Catskills are pretty much their own.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe.
Nah.
Maybe you're right.
Drew Barrymore plays his James Woods' daughter, but she's almost kind of
unrecognizable.
Like not. And why the scene doesn't? I'm trying to think if the scene means anything.
No, I think it's just a way to have her in there, and then maybe they just didn't. Yeah, and I don't think that they necessarily wanted you to immediately realize her, like that it was her, because then wouldn't that mean the cat's journey is over essentially? I think it was just a little nod to, and and why hire another kid when you've got her?
That's right.
Okay, so and before I forget, this was Cats I was on currently as we record on HBO Max and Tubi.
Okay.
It has floated in and around other ones. It'll probably keep doing that, but and the version I watched, I swear there was some dubbing because the guy in that top picture, the guy on the right, whose character's name was Junk. Oh boy, and played by Tony Munafo. There's a place where he goes. The cat runs away and he says, "Oh fiddlesticks." And I'm like,
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Didn't fit that character, and then there's another one where he says, "Oh darn" or something like that, and it just didn't fit the.
So they did. They took out the cuss words
and put in the most ridiculous replacement possible. That's funny.
Well, I'm wondering too. What was this? Was this rated G?
No,
I don't think so. Surely not. I mean, the dude did fall off the. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no,
they
the
cut
head
off
comes off.
they cut off a woman's finger.
she-
I mean, you don't see
yeah.
it, and they had the cat actually through the electrical thing, and a woman in the electrical
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
there was, yeah, and the
PG.
goblin was actually pretty scary.
This is such a
bit.
great premise,
PG-13,
though.
but
The idea of the mob, using their unique abilities to convince you, because that's what the mob does. They convince you to do what you're supposed to do, and to take that away from just muscling businessmen and everything to making you a better person. And I like it at the end. Not only have they quit smoking, but they're going to improve everything. And I remember that was a big thing in the short story that once he was broken, he never wanted to look at a cigarette again. They're like, "Now
Oh,
we're
he
going to
had to
get your
lose
weight
weight.
down. Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
get your weight down. Maybe you should go back to school." They're actually going to improve his life to the point where, yeah, he actually at the end appreciates all
Well,
they've done for him.
that's the big stinger at the end too. So they show him the electrified cage, cat in it. So the cat is dancing around in there, and I forgot to look. I should have looked to see if no animals were harmed in this movie.
No, they use
Oh,
jets of air.
there's no
They
way.
use jets
Yeah.
of air to make the cat jump.
Oh,
and
that's
the
right, that's
electrical
right.
effects. The electrical effects are
Yeah.
pretty obviously put there.
Jeff, they wouldn't have been able to do that in the
No, I would've
80s.
burned
Like
the movie
that
down.
would have been illegal. Like Cannibal Holocaust happened, but they were in other countries.
Right.
Okay,
So anyway,
that's
so yeah, the cat. So that, and then the woman is in there and she's hopping around. But that's sort of triggering stuff. But it's interesting that he doesn't suffer any penalties.
Right.
but that's I think
Personally.
if he were to suffer the penalties, he would take it. I don't
can
think
make
I
the
think it's
choice,
harder for him to do it. They're smart. I really think that's it's a lot of times someone won't do it for themselves, but they'll do it for someone else. And I think
then-
that's the point. Yeah.
And they don't. It's pretty weird because he doesn't. I guess he did sign that thing,
Yeah.
but he immediately says, "No, I'm not doing this. I'm out of here." And he just right away gets the heavy hand of the I don't want to say it, get too of an enforcer comes down on him. You're not doing that or what So then when he's gained weight, we need you to lose 8 pounds, and if you don't, we're going to cut off one of your wife's fingers. And he goes, you big kidder, So that's a great scene at the end at the dinner party.
Oh yeah, and the finger. Ugh, that's a good one. That was I love the way it's done, the way it's written.
The guy that turned him on to Quitters Inc.
Right.
His wife holds up the wine glass and she's missing her little finger or second finger. I forget which it is, but
And that gives us that little sting of horror that in the end everything worked out, but he is pretty much bound to these people for the rest of his
yeah.
life.
What's the next thing is what I was thinking too. What's the next thing after weight? That's
Dun, dun, dun.
I know. F that.
well, yeah. James Woods, Videodrome.
He plays the everyman really well.
Yes, he does.
And it works well that he's more of a natural actor. Alan King is doing this over the top bombastic thing, but that does work for these mob. These mob characters. Like if you see, all the great mob movies, Wise Guys and everything, they're always on. They're always putting on a performance. Even
Well,
when they're
because that's
playing
how they
real
can.
life characters.
It makes sense though, because
Yeah.
that's how they would intimidate, right? Like they're larger than life. They're kind of, fake.
Yeah.
Without,
There was one that I think he may have gotten nominated for. What was it? Just Tell Me What You Want, or with Ali McGraw. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm 100%, 1,000%.
You're
wrong.
probably right. It says nominated for 2 Oscars. One is Ghosts of Mississippi, and the other one is
wow.
Salvador.
Oh, okay. Wow. Oh, James Woods. I was thinking of Alan King.
Oh. Okay. Well, we'll look at Alan King. Is he nominated for anything? But those are obviously, each one of these episodes has 2 at the most 3 main characters. I think they pretty much stick to 2. And in this one, it's
Definitely
James
the
Woods
next
and Alan
one.
King. Not an Oscar anyway.
It's too bad.
He was always on the Academy Awards, though. He was a good host, presenter. He was just one of those guys. He was on TV a lot when I was young. So
Well, they don't
I
have
got used to
this.
seeing Alan King.
They don't have this stuff anymore, but they used to have what they called like musical variety shows on, kind of like Ed
Yeah.
Sullivan. But like every singer you ever saw would host these hour-long shows, and they would just go through a string of guests that would do singing, dancing, skits, comedy routines, to be comedians, magicians every once in a while, acrobats, whatever. And that stuff's just not. I don't. If that's out there, I don't know.
And that was the thing too. If you weren't just a comedian back then, if you were going to go into show business, they taught you how to dance, they taught you how to juggle, they taught you how. You may not be particularly good at all of them or great at all of them, but you were adequate at all of them. And so yeah, you could put on a performance. I just always like seeing folks like Alan King, and I just happen to think he was funny too when I did see his comedy routines. He must have been on the Tonight Show a gazillion times. He could tell a story. That's what was valuable back
Oh
then.
yeah.
Yeah, he was in the movie Just Tell Me What You Want with Ally McGraw. All right, so I don't know why Sidney Lumet directed it. I don't know why that's stuck in my head. But
So yeah, we should talk about Drew Barrymore a little bit. I thought there was a slide of her that we had missed. So
I should
those
have
are
made a
all
slide
from the-
of all the other things that she's been so great in because as a child, she was in a lot of good stuff. Firestarter, she was obviously.
Well, and E.T. was just a couple years
And as
before
an
this.
adult, she was in one of my favorites, Santa Clarita Diet. She was terrific in that. She's
yeah.
she's just a really good actress. I really enjoy her stuff.
She is.
She's
She
cute
is.
here. She's so cute here.
And she has this little lisp when she's talking or something. She's like, her lips are like, it's cute.
She's got such an innocence about her, so you can see how it becomes this cool good versus evil battling for this little innocent child. Now, why the troll shows up? Who knows why? Why is he dressed the way he does? I don't know.
And her parents make try to ignore her and pish posh all of her reports of what's going on, but she ain't having none of it. She's sticking with it. Mm-hmm. And there's the
General
title character. Yeah.
He seems neat. Now, at first when I saw this, I'm like, they could have picked a more
cat.
Photogenic cat, but actually this makes perfect
I
sense.
love him.
No, he's a cool cat. I mean, I'm just.
Is he part Bengal? Is he some type of Bengal?
I don't think there were Bengals back then. He's just a tabby, and the nice thing about tabbies is if you get like 10 tabbies, they look close enough alike that you can do what you want. You were asking how to get the cat to act in this movie. I have a theory.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If you're going to make a movie with a cat, you simply follow the cat around for about 10 months, filming every single thing they do, and then write a script on the footage that you have, because you're never going to get them to do what they're supposed to do.
That's fair.
Just be flexible.
Bengal cats came out in the 1800s, by the way, just so you know.
Really?
Yeah. The Bengal cat became into existence after an Asian leopard was bred with a domestic cat in the 1800s. But it wasn't until Jean Sugden Mill perfected the hybrid breed during the 1980s that the Bengal cat truly became domesticated with the temperament to match. There you go. I love Bengals. I want one so bad.
In the 1980s, you were taking your life in your hand having a Bengal cat. You basically had a
wild cat. Because they were more feral. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, the second segment is The Ledge. And that is the cat is picked up by Kressner, a shady Atlantic City millionaire who bets on everything, and he forces a tennis pro, who is his wife's lover, to walk a narrow ledge around his high-rise penthouse apartment. And Kenneth McMillan is the millionaire, and Robert Hayes is the tennis pro.
So what's interesting to me about this story is that somehow they managed to make the cheater the good guy.
Right. It's not the first time Stephen King has done that, because doesn't this kind of remind you a little of Something to Tide You Over from Creepshow?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Are have our sympathy, and it's the cheated on husband who you want to have some, but he's allowed. There's a reason why she cheated.
That's right. you make the husband such a despicable character
Yeah.
that you sympathize with the wife for cheating. And
Yep.
what we find out later happens to her.
Yeah.
Oh, that was horrible. Yeah. Then you know what a piece of poop he is. Like,
Right. He's not even. He doesn't even. He's not even. He's a Welsher on the bet. So not even true to his own twisted code. He's
are you sure about that though? Because technically, he did get the girl and the money. He just though it's he did. It's just the way he reacted that caused. So he didn't welch. He just
like the
delivered.
monkey's paw.
It was like exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It was like the monkey's paw of getting what he wanted. Mm-hmm.
You
Effed up, but
in
demons
pieces.
will always they'll fulfill the contract to the letter of the law, but words are open to interpretation.
Here you go.
Well, he's a
Here's
good
your
actor, and he doesn't have a lot of credits. I don't know if he spent a lot of time on stage, but there's one we should all know.
Airplane, obviously.
No, I'm talking about.
Oh, isn't he Airplane?
The other guy.
Oh.
But Robert Hayes is Airplane, yes. But Kenneth McKinnon.
Yeah, sorry.
I've heard you say you love this movie, Crystal.
Yes, and I know. I recognize him from something.
Was it
He's Baron
Firestarter?
Harkonnen in Doom.
Oh!
That's it. Oh my God. Yes, duh.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Totally
Thank
bad.
you.
Ton of makeup on, but
I didn't recognize
Yeah,
him
well,
without
and
all
he's-
the
yeah.
spores and fat suit. Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
He was so repulsive.
I did, but I still think there's even something else I've seen him in for sure.
probably. I just think he's a good actor. He's been in.
Me too.
He was in Ragtime, Reckless. I saw another one there. Pope of Greenwich Village.
Oh, those are good movies.
Fairly well-known movies.
He was in Amadeus.
Yeah. I totally believed he was this evil character. Then when Robert Hayes puts him out on the ledge, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, we know this ain't gonna last. But
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
you,
always
if you're
like
going
this
out
guy.
on the
I'll give you
ledge,
money. I'll give you lots of money. Yeah, okay.
if you're gonna go out on the ledge and it's really windy, aren't you gonna take your long flowing bathrobe off that catches the wind that whips around?
I would.
Anyway. But I think they do a great job of shooting that. I mean, obviously he's not really on a ledge, but he's I bought it.
Yeah.
I did too.
And then when the pigeon's pecking at his foot.
If I remember the short story, it's not explicit. You don't actually the protagonist who's relaying the story doesn't see him fall, but he gets, he's watching them and he goes around the corner right to where the pigeon is and he starts hearing the screams, and it's pretty clear this guy's not going to make it.
So I don't know if you noticed, but he had two guys that brought him in, and I did not recognize him, but the one was Mike Starr, his one henchman. I recognized him. But then the other one that was in the car was a black guy the character's name was Dom. It was Charles Dutton. I mean, I can't even remember if he had a line, but I think it's when they pick him up and take him to McMillan's hotel.
What do I know Charles Dutton from? I know the name. I'm trying to.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know. I'm horrible with names.
Oh, he was in Alien 3. He was in a whole bunch of stuff. Yes, now I recognize him. Sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah, good actor.
So anyway, he picked these guys up, and Mike Starr's a very recognizable guy too. Mm-hmm. He plays a lot of guys like this. And then his other henchman is the one who's walking in, bring the bag in when I say such and such. Mm-hmm. And what is the other guy that's going to come in and shoot him trips over the bag. And that's when the wife's head rolls out, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway. All right. Well, the last one was called The General. And it was because this thing was after Drew Barrymore. And I love that picture in the middle, Bill.
Yeah, what the hell? Is it that big?
Yes.
They-
So basically,
Oh.
they built giant sets for this guy to walk around in this
I
costume,
had no idea.
and it
That's
really worked.
cool. Yeah, it
Well, I think
did.
they had, don't you think they, I'm sure they had a small one too that they did. Didn't they do some stop motion animation or not?
I don't know if there was stop motion. I think that there probably was a hand puppet too, but see, I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, there you go.
That
There you
that
go.
top that top picture there, that could be a hand puppet on top of her, but I think it may also just be the guy in the costume on a giant quilt with Drew's
Superimposed,
head
yeah.
projected onto a screen
Right.
behind them. Because she does
Wow.
seem to be a little out of focus compared to the rest.
Yeah.
You know, it's good use of forced perspective and practical effects that, you know, just gives it an interesting look. I thought they did a really good job with that. That's probably where most of the budget went for this particular one.
Well,
And
and
I think
it's
it was
kind of,
Carlo
I mean,
Rambaldi who did the creature.
yeah,
effects
Carlo
for this.
Rambaldi, the guy who did E.T., right? Or did a bunch of the stuff on E.T. So, what else? What other segment of an anthology does this remind you of? At least in terms of the basic. I can't think the
Obviously.
name of it, but in Trilogy of Terror, the Zuni fetish.
Oh, the Zuni.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
I mean,
kind of.
he's running around with a knife, and
I mean, he should. Yeah, you shouldn't be scared of something so small, but
Oh, it's scarier, I think, sometimes because they can hide and get in. It's like spiders. Why are spiders so scary? They're so little. But you know what? That's because they can get in places you won't see them. F that. Okay.
and there's
No.
so that
explanation.
thing is gonna
Why is this
steal the
thing
breath, and
here?
that's. We don't know. We don't know anything about
No.
it, do we?
No, he lived, and he doesn't live in the house. He decided to take up shop there and steal
Yeah.
this
Yep.
little girl's breath, and he dresses with bells. I don't know why. But this has a feeling to me of like some Eastern European legend of the little trolls.
It
that
does a
come and
little
steal
bit,
your breath.
like a gnome or a.
Yeah. There's probably a reason why
Troll.
he dresses the way he does, but I don't know what
It's
it is.
called-
Jerry Chandler will send us a letter telling Bill, how could you not know about the legend of the red caps who blah 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 blah, blah.
Oh,
I'm sure there's a
speaking of
perfectly
Jerry
good reason.
Chandler. Let's see here. So there's Candy Clark. You mentioned her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Always like there's
She
a couple of
wasn't
ones.
she in Close Encounters? Well, who am I thinking of?
You know who she kind of reminds me of? I know it's not the same woman, but she kind of reminds me of the mom in Poltergeist, too, for some reason.
American Graffiti. That's what I was
Yes.
thinking of. American
Yes, yeah,
Graffiti.
she does remind me a little
The
bit.
mother in Poltergeist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is that? Jo Beth Williams.
And we've talked about her on Q and the Blob. Obviously, she's got a
Oh, yeah,
spectacular
The Blob,
death
yeah.
there. Yeah, she was in one of
What
my
did you
favorites,
say?
the original Man Who Fell to Earth with David Bowie,
Oh, okay.
and Amityville 3D. So they can't all be winners, but you know, you do what you can.
I hate when I
Yes.
start thinking it's like that Mandela effect because I would have swore she was in. Oh, that's Terry Garr is in Close
Terry
Encounters.
Garr,
Okay.
yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Understandable, girl next door looks and everything, and she's good in this because she plays a character that otherwise would really be totally unlikable. The
Yes.
mom who doesn't like the cat and is, you know, would be like the wicked
Yeah.
stepmother or something, but she's likable. You sort of get where she's coming from. She was obviously raised by a cat hater,
Yeah.
and honestly, listen, you know, you say, oh, they didn't listen to the little girl. I've had little girls. If my girls told me a troll was coming out of the walls, you know, and everything,
I wouldn't listen either.
I wouldn't.
And
believe
she's
that
let,
either.
and let's be real. Let's be real. I'm sorry, but as much as I love animals, it is absolutely not at all smart to bring a random animal into your home. Absolutely not. Diseases, pests,
Oh, yeah.
ticks, all kinds of junk. As much as I want to say, no, you need to take the animal to the vet. Then you could bring the animal into your home. It just to be safe. I mean, you know, I say that as I would bring home,
Oh, wow.
but I know I'm stupid. I love animals, but you know.
Been there, done that. And the other thing is like, listen, you bring a cat into the house, and the next day your parakeet is dead. I don't think it was a little girl living in the wall. Come on, I love cats, but they're natural born killers. That's their nature.
Yeah,
Tweety Bird ain't lasting long in this scenario. So but in the end,
she was married.
Yeah. Go ahead. She was married to who?
Marjo Gortner for a year and a half.
Oh, who's that?
He was a child evangelist that then went into acting. He was in Star Crash. He was in The Food of the Gods.
Oh,
anyway, yeah, no, I did not like her, the character, and I felt like it was sort of a stereotyped. This is the mother that has to compensate for the father and the kids who are always getting into trouble, or doing things they shouldn't be doing, and she's got to make sure that everybody follows the rules to the point of, being a martinet or something. But I mean, I could see where she's coming from also, because she's worried about her child's safety. And speaking of which, she was nominated for an Oscar. Was that for American Graffiti?
Oh. That's cool, actually. Yeah.
All righty. Well, I think I've cashed through the cards, and anything else we want to talk about here, Bill? I mean, this is a nice little anthology. Nothing too. Actually, I think I'm trying to think about this. You talked about the electrification, but considering things like demon dolls and ghosts and gore and sex in a lot of
this is not
horror
this is light
movies.
horror.
This is not a bad kids movie now.
The whole family can watch this one
now. Yeah.
Now, one thing to point out: this was one of the producers of this was Milton Sabosky, who made a bunch of these portmanteaus that we've done almost all of them, maybe all of them at this point.
We haven't done all the ones in the classic era, but we will.
Okay.
We haven't done.
This was his last horror anthology.
Yeah.
And then he did
he was
three more
partners.
Stephen King movies.
Yeah, he was the partner with I forgot his name now, but that had Amicus Production.
I can't remember the name either. He did 3 more Stephen King movies, but I have to say, quite frankly, they're 3 of the worst Stephen King movies. Maximum Overdrive, which is the worst. Sometimes They Come Back, which is okay, but not as good as it should have been given the story. And The Lawnmower Man, which to me was just a misfire.
That was a
Well, it was loosely based on the story, but the story really couldn't be made into a movie anyway. So it was at that point they were just buying titles, so they could say a Stephen King story. It's like a Stephen King title that we made into a movie. But
in terms of the Amicus stuff, I mean, they made movies too, regular movies. But Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, we've done that. Torture Garden is the one we haven't done.
Oh, Torture Garden, okay.
And then Asylum, Tales from the Crypt. What's the other one? Tales from the Vault or Vault of Horror.
Yeah.
And then the last one was later From Beyond the Grave. That was the other one. All righty. Okie dokie. Well, how much time we got here? We do have some feedback. That's it for Cat's Eye, folks. Check it out on HBO Max or Tubi or wherever. It was nice that they had that Every Breath You Take was a kind of a theme song there behind both
so weird.
The Troll and Quitters Inc.
Yeah.
All righty. Let me get down here. All right. So apparently Lone Wolf has been away for a while and has now decided to catch up. So we'll start with the oldest one, episode 174, Prince of Darkness. Crystal, you want to take that one?
Sure. Just checking out some older episodes again because I forgot to comment on them, so don't mind me. Well, thank you. I appreciate the comments. Each film in the Apocalypse trilogy represents a key component of the human being, if I remember correctly. Okay, that's cool. The Thing represents the body, obviously. Prince of Darkness is the soul, and In the Mouth of Madness is the mind. Oh my gosh, that so makes sense.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah, I don't think Prince of Darkness needs a remake. Not for this current world we're in. But let's be honest, it's inevitable. It's only a matter of time until even legends are no longer untouchable. And that makes me sad. Makes me, yeah, I'm sorry, Lone Wolf. I feel that.
Yeah, there are some movies that's a darn good movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out. Thank you, sir. Bill, how about The Church?
Okay, this is also from
Episode
Lone Wolf.
175. Yeah. So,
The Church. One of the weirdest yet funniest movies I ever watched, and it's because of the dubbing. The part that made me fall out of my chair laughing was the scene where Father Gus is arguing with the old priests on the rainy roof, and after the old guy falls to his death, Gus yells out, "What must I do? What must I do?" Gus is easily my favorite character because he's the only one trying to figure out what in the absolute hell is going on here. Azia Argento was so adorable, and I almost stopped the movie during a certain uncomfortable scene with her and an older guy. Also, how hard is it to cut a piece of clothing when it's stuck to the door? Are you kidding me? With all the craziness going on, wedding bride complaining about the heat, a teacher who has a Velma moment with her glasses, a goat sex scene that felt like the Fulci version of the sex scene from Rosemary's Baby, two people who turn into dirt after getting hit by a train. I absolutely had fun watching this for comedy reasons. Maybe if I watch it again, I'll understand it. Or not. Right on all
I love
points.
that description. A goat sex scene that felt like the Fulci version of the sex scene from Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy. And one more from Lone Wolf, episode 197, The Stepfather. Crystal, do you want to take that one?
Oh, okay. I love this movie. It's part of what I call the crazy obsessed person subgenre of horror. But can something like that be truly horror? In case you guys don't know what I mean by this genre, I'll give you some examples. Psycho, Play Misty for Me, Fatal Attraction, The Crush, Poison Ivy, which I almost brought up because of Drew Barrymore tonight, Mikey, The Good Son, Misery, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Pacific Heights, and pretty much every movie on the Lifetime channel. I know, I way read ahead. I always felt like these movies straddle the line of horror, but not quite horror. Thriller, but a little more than thriller. How do you guys feel about this subgenre? Well, that's funny because I kind of feel like we're having a hard time describing the movie tonight. I think it's horror for sure because I mean, what happens has horror elements. I think that if you have someone that's crazy and you have someone that kills someone, I mean that's enough to be horror for me. There's always like this weird line, and people always like you say that if there's a police investigation, it's not horror. I don't understand that. I don't understand why that can't be horror. What are we talking about here? I don't know. I think everyone has to make up their own idea of what horror is.
You got a guy who's cutting up people and wearing their skins. To me, that's
Thank
horror.
you.
I don't care if there's a cop in the movie or not.
Yeah, I know exactly. To me,
I'm very broad on that. If there's a movie, there's this feeling of tension and suspense, and even like I've talked about this before. Sometimes if it's a really good suspense scene, I catch myself holding my breath. Like the person in the scene is. Those movies are usually, I would call them horror. I'm very broad on it.
And you know what? If you think it's horror, it's horror. I mean, there's no gatekeepers.
Well, there's no definition. If you look up the definition of horror, it's pretty open to interpretation too, like in the dictionary definitions. So it's pretty much anything that calls horrifying reactions or.
I think Cats is a horror movie, but me nightmare.
All right. Well, we like them. I like them. Crazy people. I think they're actually scarier than the supernatural ones because they're real. They could be real. people like The Stepfather. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that.
All right, episode 205 on Halloween 2 from Evil Genius, and this is the last one. Evil. Bill, I think we're on. Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Evil Genius. Okay, I've been meaning to get back to this movie after watching that train wreck of Halloween Ends. I really need to immerse myself in a good Halloween movie. Yes, Halloween 2, 1981 is a great Halloween movie. I love this film. Carpenter may have been dragged into it and was drunk writing it, and perhaps Deborah Hill carried him through it because we all know the tragic story of 2 and 3 and the whole anthology thing, but this movie is classic. The hospital is a great setting and it was used well. Donald Pleasance was an overdrive. Jamie Lee Curtis brought in a great performance. Personally, I prefer this familial relationship between Michael and Laurie. While I did enjoy the rebooted Halloween 1 and 2, I was not a fan of the exorcism of the Halloween 2 1981 storyline. The Shape is in full supernatural slasher mode in this film. And yes, the Shape is supernatural always, which has been why the geriatric elder abuse of Ends is so unforgivable. Boy, that movie has really that movie's really divided people.
It has.
Division is mostly between people who hate it and absolutely hate it, and a small contingent of people who are saying they liked it. But
I kind of liked it. I'm going to watch it again.
Which one?
The very latest
Halloween
one.
Ends. Halloween.
I liked it. I
Okay.
didn't have a problem with it.
I
Okay,
haven't
so
seen it, so I've got no valid opinion yet.
I will tell you this though. I get why people don't like it.
Right.
It's so it goes so far off the rails of the first and the see the problem with Halloween is we're talking about so many different ones. In this last trio, it goes so far off the rails from the first and the second one. I was like, what the F? But I kind of liked it. I was like, okay. I think this could be a standalone movie, though.
I think that the actual, what happens in the Halloween Ends is sort of, and in fact in Halloween Kills, is sort of how the evil bleeds over into the town and how it affects the people and how that sort of propagates out from there. Anyway, we got to stop because we're running.
Yeah, we got to go.
A little bit late. That's
Yep.
it for this episode, but every 2 weeks we'll be focusing on a specific film from the 80s. Next up, we tackle one chosen by Crystal.
Sleepaway Camp. Yay!
Ooh.
Classic.
All right, some Felissa Rose.
It's a fun one. Yes, I love her.
So yeah, plenty of ways to stay in touch. Please leave comments. Please subscribe. Please like all those things. We're on audio podcasts. We're also on video in the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel. So check it out. Catch us again here in 2 weeks with another. What am I doing here?
Great horror movie, as only decades of horror 80s can do it.
And hopefully Chad will be with us.
We love you guys. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Take care, everybody.
Gruesome Magazine.